Good afternoon, class. How are you today? Hope we have a very friendly introduction for the first sections last week. I hope that we can know each other better, then we can communicate better. Okay, the friendly introductions always bring a good benefit for everyone. So it makes us become closer, friendlier, and somehow easier to share the opinions and idea. So today, classly, I will have the first sections of the macroeconomics that we will study from the programs, as I know that you already read your material, the learning material, your textbook before the class, and I will help you to go through the lessons, so on for the class. Okay. So our first lessons about macroeconomics is will be about the national incomes. Okay. Then let me just share you real quick about the slide. So this is the slide, okay, the measuring of national income. This is the very first chapters of the macroeconomics. So from these chapters, you will learn more about GDP, as I believe, okay, every one of you know what is GDP. And of course, when we learn about GDP, then we will know how GDP will relate it, a national income and the spending. Also, what are the components of the GDP? What does it mean when you try to count for the GDP? You should know its components in order to calculate the GDP. And when you can calculate the GDP, then we will measuring the inflations through the GDP. So in this concept, you will find to distinguish between the nominal GDP, also real GDP. And the last thing we will learn from this chapter is about how GDP can measuring the social well-being. Okay. Then, before we start the class, I would like to tell you a very good news I have read this morning. It's all about the Vietnam economies, okay? And the ADB is mean the Asian Development Banks. They have forecast and they said that Vietnam will be the number one or the country with the highest GDP growth among the Asia through the COVID-19. Okay? So you know that, okay, everyone now have to stay at home because of the COVID-19. When you stay at home, all the business have to close, all the economic activity also have to slow down. The company have to send their staff home for work. Okay, every other activity also sometimes stop or sometimes it must slow down. So when everything going down or slow down like this, it will create a recession. As you know, the economies now cannot generate the income, cannot generate the GDP. It cannot make people better because your incomes, everything is going down. Okay, as you know, maybe perhaps your parents, okay, your brothers, your sister, they have to work at home or they have to work less, so their income become less. And when their income become less, it means the people spending become less. The demands for goods and services of whole economy is going down. And when it's going down, what does it mean? It means economy now will go to recessions. Okay, it's not growing anymore. But however, the ADB said that, okay, Vietnam we still number one growing GDP growth in ASEAN. They had the comparisons for some countries in ASEAN, such as like uh, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, China, Indonesia, India, and Vietnam. Okay, so overall, the pictures what they said. They said that in 2002, the forecasting said the Vietnam GDP will grow about 4.8%. Okay, so the 4.8% growing in GDP, what does it mean? It means compared to the previous period, the GDP, the combinations of the GDP now will grow 4.8%. Okay, it will be higher mean the Vietnam economy is growing, economic is growing. Okay, even we are in the period of the COVID-19. Okay, However, some other country like China is a huge country, you know that, okay? The country with over 1.6 billion people, their economic growth is just about 2.3%. Okay. Meanwhile, the Singapore, the most richest countries in GDP per capita in ASEAN, they only can grow at 0.2%. Okay? So now look, okay, the COVID-19 make everyone's worse off. Okay, no one better off in this case. Okay, whole economy of the world also going down. Okay, but we have a very good sign of Vietnam economy, how we can grow. Okay, so through my presentations, through my brief summary on the news about GDP growth, there are a few things then you have to pay attention, okay? And this will relate it to our lesson today. First of all, that's the GDP, okay? As I know, that's the gross domestic product. I believe you all know about this. The second one is about GDP growth, okay? How are we going to measuring the GDP growth? Okay, what does it mean? Okay, and of course, when you study about GDP, you also know how to calculate the inflations. Okay, through the GDP. Okay, so that is something that you will learn. Okay, that you will study in the lessons. Okay, so for this chapter, okay, of course, the first thing you need to distinguish between micro and macro, as my previous sections I already explained, and I also give you an example how we distinguish between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Okay, so that is no big deal. You now understand how the firm they make decisions. Okay, how the individual household or the firm make their own decisions at the micro level, and how the economy as a whole we can study as from these courses. Then before we start, then again, okay, I would like to quote the definition of the GDP. GDP is a gross domestic product, and this GDP will measure the total income of everyone in the economy. Then what does it mean? Okay, when it's measured the total income of everyone in the economy, what does it mean? Now, let's just give me as an example. Okay, I'm very lazy, so I don't have much time to do my housework. When I get home, I just want to eat, sleep, take rest. Okay, I don't want to cleanse my house. I don't want to do laundry. Okay, I don't want to cook my dinner. So what happened in this case? I will hiring somebody to do that for me. And when I'm hiring somebody, means I will spend some money for these services. Say, for example, I spend $100 per month, okay, for this house household job. Then a person, when they apply the job and when they come to my house, they do the job, such as like as I mentioned, laundry, cooking dinner, cleaning the house. Okay, so after 1 month, that person will receive my $100 as an income. Okay, so when they receive my $100 as income, you can see now the GDP now they're measuring the total income of everyone in the economy. I spend $100, that $100 become an income. And this is what we call one economic transactions. And if we consider economic as a whole, then we have 1,000 millions of transactions like that. And all combined, that will become macroeconomics. Okay, so you can see based on the concept I just said, I'm spending, and that spending will become an income, and that income now measuring the GDP. It means in this particular example, the GDP of economy is $100. Agree? Okay. So in order to illustrate this concept more clearly, okay, we have to remind a concept, a different concept that we call the circular flow diagrams, which you have studied in the microeconomics. Okay, and of course, this circular flow diagrams will illustrate the flow of money and the flow of goods and services. But more detail, this will explain to you how an income will equal to expenditures of the economies. Then before we briefly talking about the recap about the circular flow diagrams, I just want to have a real quick quiz for you to remind knowledge about the circular flow diagram. We can actually just do a test, okay, a test related to this quiz. Let me just share. Let me just share you uh, the quiz that we will study, that we will do it, okay? To remind for you. So class, now do you have the slide? Can you see the Kahoot game that I show you? Let me share again, okay? Now, yes, the Kahoot game right here. Then I just share. Okay. Okay. So okay then. So now you can just, get to the link right there. Click on the link and with the pin number. Okay, then please just input the game pin number and then you can go ahead and do it. Now let's just start, okay? Let's start. Okay, I have two questions for you. Now, the first one is, what are the factor of productions? You have four options, and then you can tell me what do you answer. Wow, wonderful, okay. Wonderful, okay. So we all know factor of production including land, labor, and capital, okay. Next one. Wow, I suppose we have like three questions, okay. I don't know where is another two questions. Maybe never mind. Okay, something wrong with the games, but okay, I believe that perhaps you have an idea about the factor of productions. Okay, so now let's just go back. Okay, let's just go back to our lessons about the circular flow diagrams, which I want to illustrate for you. Um, some of the components and how we're going to define the circular flow diagrams. So now in the circular flow diagrams, okay, we have the factor of production and we also have the factor of payments, which you have done with the Kahoot game about factor of production. They are labor, land, capital, natural resources, okay. Actually, some natural resources also belong to the lands, okay. These are called factor productions. And another one we call factor of the payments. The payments are, what are these factor payments? They are wages, rents, okay? The payment to the factor of production. Then how we illustrate the circular flow diagram. Then now just look at this, okay? Just a recap memory for you. In the circular flow diagrams, we have two parts as a firms and as a household. We also have the two markets, which we call the markets for goods and services and the market for factor production. And the factor of production, you already know, they are land, labor, and capital. Okay. Then what is the market for goods and services? It means the market which the firm they will produce a goods or services. And both goods and services, okay, we will account for the GDP. Okay, this is the components of the, this is the products or the services that we will purchase to the economy. Then now, just give you an example. This circular flow diagram will illustrate the concept of the flow of money and the flow of goods and services, or I can say the how we can measuring the spending and the income of whole economy. Now the firm over here let's consider this is a Starbucks coffee. You guys all know about Starbucks. And another side is that household is means you. Okay. So now look at the red circle right here, the red flow. The Starbucks right now, they will produce a cup of coffee and they will sell a cup of coffee through the market for goods and services. Who will buy it? You as a household. You buy a cup of coffee. And when you buy a cup of coffee, what do you have to do? You pay money. Okay. And when you pay money, we call this year spending. Suppose a cup of coffee now equal to $1. So $1, one cup of coffee. Then through the market for goods and services, now the Starbucks, they will receive $1 here as their revenue. Okay, because you sell your products, okay, so you have your revenue. Then in order to produce a cup of coffee, they need some of the inputs, okay? And the inputs over here, we say the factor of production in order to produce the cup of coffee, okay? So what are they? They are land, labor, and capital. What does it mean by land, labor, and capital? So say, for example, if you have an extra house, you can let the Starbucks to rent your house as a locations. Now, when you have labor mean you can go and work directly for the Starbucks. When you have money, okay, you can let the Starbucks to borrow money, so the Starbucks they can buy equipment, okay, the coffee maker to produce a coffee. So what happened now, right now here? We go through the market for factor of productions. The household now they will sell land, labor, capital, and the firm right here, the Starbucks, they will buy land, labor, and capital. Okay, so what we call the market for factor of production. So in returns, what the Starbucks they do? They will pay $1 for land, labor, and capital. What does it mean? When they rent your house, they have to pay their rent. Okay, when they hiring you as a worker, they have to pay your salary. Okay. When they borrow your money to buy an equipment, then they have to pay profits. Okay. So now look at the flow. You see, they buy the factor of production, then they have to pay wage, rents, the profits. Okay. And through the market for factor of production, this one now will become income for the household. So now look at this circle, okay, two circle, one red and one green. The green one tell you what, $1 you spending, okay, for a cup of coffee through the whole economy, go to the Starbucks and go to somewhere else and just go back to the household. Mean $1 in somebody pocket now through the whole economy that will go to other person pockets. Make sense now? Okay. And another thing now, look at the other flow, the red flow. They say what? Okay. Now everything now will represent the good and services. What does it mean by good and services? The whole economy now is considered as a cup of coffee. They will have some of the component to produce a cup of coffee as an input and output, and they can sell their product to the economy. Okay, and this is what we say the flow for input and output, or the flow for goods and services. Okay, so now if you see, you will see the whole economy in this particular example defined as one cup of coffee, $1, and this is explaining the revenue and income, or the spending and the income. They are all equal to $1. Okay, so okay, this is just a very brief introductions about um, the circular flow diagram that we have just reviewed it. Okay, then the next one, the next part, I will explain more about the GDP, how we going to measures about it. Okay, and that's about our chapter right here. Okay, so hope you enjoy it. Okay, and thank you.